And let me just tell you something. If they didn't waste a year and a half of my life on a ridiculous impeachment based on a phone call that was perfect, this stuff would have all been done. It would have all been done. Really. It would have all been done. And yet, with all of the stuff, the fake Russia witch hunt, the fake Ukraine, how about that? Did anybody read the transcript of that call? It was a perfect call. Hey, congratulations, good luck. It was like a perfect call. Now they'll take it back and they'll say, well, I don't know. This was a perfect, in history, there's never been anything like this. It was a totally lopsided, 100% political witch hunt. And it goes on and on. These are bad people. I really believe they don't love our country.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, as we see fake news stories coming out telling blatant lies about the president, and we have top former military officials attacking President Trump, we know it's because something major is about to happen, and I think I have a very good idea of what that might be. You guys are going to want to stick around to hear about that, plus a whole bunch of other breaking news stories that you need to hear. But major news is coming, and I have a good idea of what it might be, so stick around and check it out. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. You guys know the drill. Today, we're going to get into a major story that you guys are going to want to hear about. But before we do that, come here, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell. Make sure you select that all button so you get notified as soon as all these videos get posted. And I encourage all of you to stick around to the end of the episode where we do our God's Grace is Greater segment. Today, we're going to look at a verse out of 2 Corinthians chapter 3 talking about living letters, which really is a message about what we need to do in our lives to really lead good lives. And I think it's profound scripture, and we're going to talk about that at the end of this episode, so stick around for that. As always, we go over and check the cue board. Nothing new. 4636 is where we left off. And but in this episode, what I'm going to talk about later in the episode, so you guys are going to stick around for it, is information that I have that may be exactly the reason why they are going after President Trump so hard right now. I may have information that is incredibly important, and it's going to be coming out very soon publicly, and I'm going to just kind of give you guys what I know and let you guys decide for yourself. But I trust my sources, as I said before, and there's something major in the works that's going to be coming in the next few days or a week or two. And it's going to be groundbreaking. It's going to be a game changer. And I think this explains why they're attacking President Trump so hard right now. And you have, these former military officials coming out after him. It's because we're going to expose things that they were involved with that they do not want exposed. So that's the best way I can put it until we'll get into that a little bit later in the episode here. But real quick, before we get into that, I have a question for you guys. Do you guys want to help support this channel and get a great product for free without having to give any of your personal information to it? Yeah, I thought you might say yes to that. If you do want that product, here it is. It's the internet browser known as the Brave browser. What is it? It's an internet browser, just like Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Safari, whatever you're using. It works on Mac, works on Windows, works on Linux. You can download it today for free using the link in the description so they know I sent you. And what they'll do is make a contribution to this channel, so it's a win-win. Now, why is this product good? I use this product for the show here that you're watching, and I use it specifically because it blocks the ads. Because I don't want my videos full of a bunch of pop-up ads and ads for different things that I don't want to share with you guys. So I use this product. But for you, it's a great product because if you do like going on the internet on your desktop, your laptop, or your smart device, and you are tired of seeing all the pop-up ads and all the things that make it hard to really read an article and almost impossible to keep your focus or attention at times, then try this product out. I really want you guys to download it using the link in the description for free because it is a great product. I think it's awesome. I know you guys will like it. So download the Brave browser using the link in the description of this video, install it and run it on your computer, and they'll make a contribution. So it's a win-win, and I hope you guys go check that out. So now I guess where we're going to start here is with this story. right? This alleged Antifa murderer who, obviously was involved with that shooting of the Patriot Prayer protester in Portland, has been shot dead by law enforcement in Washington state. Now, what happened here is this person by the name of Michael Reynolds, who was involved in this shooting that happened the other night in Portland of a man who, was just out there with a part of a group called Patriot Prayer, who obviously was not armed. He seemed to have some bear mace, it looked like. And this guy decided to basically pull a gun on him and shoot him. From what you can see in the videos, he was apparently shot dead by police today. Now, this story is pretty incredible when you look at it. So what I've been putting together by watching all the news and reading all the articles about this is that tonight there was this interview published of this guy by Vice News, right? And this is like beyond me, right? So this guy was involved in a shooting in downtown Portland. Then he does an interview with Vice. He's not arrested by police. He just disappears into the night. Nobody's even tried to pick him up. And I guess what happened was he did this interview with Vice. Somehow Vice found him, which I don't even know how that happened, right? Other than Vice is probably, working with Antifa probably at this point. And I guess what they're saying on the 4chan boards is that the 4chaners and all them identified his location by the interview that they did. And then they sent his location information to federal officers who then went and sought to engage him for arrest. And I guess there was a struggle that ensued. It's not clear. There's not a lot of details out yet about what exactly happened. But here, we'll read through the story. It says, Michael Reynolds, the Antifa militant who murdered Patriot Prayer member Aaron J. Danielson, may he rest in peace, Saturday night in Portland, was shot and killed by law enforcement in Washington State Thursday night. Andy Knows reporting that U.S. Marshals went to Reynolds. He was killed in Lacey, Washington. Reynolds fled Oregon and crossed state lines to Washington. 39 Danielson was shot down, and it goes on to tell his story, which is a really sad story of a man who was presumably out preaching the word of God and praying for these people. And it ended up costing him his life. But we know that in this life, we only have one, and we put ourselves to God, and we know where we go, when it's all over. So I think that's one of the reasons why we're never really scared of it, because we put our lives to God and we understand what happens afterward, and we have Jesus in our hearts, and we know that we have that eternal salvation because we've turned our hearts over to God. But that aside, which is more important, but this is a story that we're going to cover here. When you read through this story, it's incredible too that President Trump literally right before this guy got shot by police tweeted out about 30 minutes before I saw the first report of the shooting that happened, why aren't the Portland police arresting the cold-blooded killer of Aaron J. Danielson? Do your job and do it fast. Everybody knows who this thug is. No wonder Portland is going to where. And then he actually tagged the Justice Department and the FBI, and literally within like 30 minutes of this tweet going up, this guy got shot and killed by federal authorities. So they work really fast, and I'm you have to presume that the police were justified in this shooting, because this guy had already allegedly committed murder, and he had, obviously was armed and dangerous. So you can only presume that the police, when they found him, he resisted in some form or fashion. And look, that's what the story is so far. But think about it this way. When you look at what he said in this interview, it's pretty telling, right? He did this interview with Vice, said, I had no choice. I mean, I had a choice. I could have sat there and watched them kill a friend of mine of color, but I wasn't going to do that. So I don't know what his argument is. I don't think either of the people there were armed. I think one of them had bear mace, and as far as I know, bear mace is not lethal. So, but a firearm is. So and he goes on, lots of lawyers suggest that I shouldn't even be saying anything, but I feel it's important that the world at least gets a little bit of what's really going on. So my question also is, like, how long before they had a GoFundMe set up where this guy was probably going to get $1 million from a bunch of these radicals and maybe George Soros people out there and the rest, people who hate America and want to see it destroyed. How long before he got $1 million? And then you look at a guy like Kyle Rittenhouse, who obviously was practicing his Second Amendment rights and defending himself from an angry mob of people who were trying to kill him and disarm him. If you get disarmed, my assumption is if I have a gun and I'm open carrying and you take my gun, you're going to use that gun against me. That's the assumption I have. And that is the Second Amendment in a nutshell, is the right to protect yourself and defend your life against people who are trying to kill you. So that aside, you see this, it all happened so fast tonight, and the details are still coming in. So we'll get more details as they become available. But this has coincided with a night of just crazy fake news, lies, and stories. But I want to start here. I think this is where it all stems from. It's the election, right? These people are desperate to get President Trump out of office. And when I say these people, I'm not just talking about Democrats. I'm talking about the deep state. I'm talking about the military-industrial complex and their minions who are terrified of what's coming. Now, we're going to talk about what's coming here in a minute. Like I said, major news is coming. I have sources and real sources. I'm not like the fake news where they say they have 5 or 10 sources and nothing ever happens. My sources are usually dead accurate and very acutely aware of the information that they're sharing with me. And they even give me information that is just blows your mind sometimes, right? And I've shared it here on the show before. So think about that. But everything I'm going to talk about here today is going to tie together. So I want to start here. It says, what happened was President Trump tweets this out. Based on the massive number of unsolicited and solicited ballots that will be sent to potential voters for the upcoming 2020 election, and in order for you to make sure your vote counts and is counted, sign and mail in your ballot as early as possible on election day or early voting. Now, this is where it gets disturbing and telling, right, about how weak they are. So Twitter has come in and they've basically put this warning on top of President Trump's tweets. And again, when I see this, I keep thinking to myself, how is the leader of the free world, the President of the United States of America, having his tweets censored and editorialized by a company run by a satanic demon who has shown that he hates this country and is involved in all types of weird stuff that I don't even want to go into right now because it's evil. And their whole company is run by people who are just SJW morons. But they write, this tweet violated the Twitter rules about civic and election integrity. However, Twitter has determined that it may be in the public's interest for the tweet to remain accessible. So they're using their platform as a way to editorialize information. And one thing I just want to say here, click on any of the things in this what's happening bar every day. Every one of the tweets, and I'm not even going to do it because they're just the most vile, disgusting, depraved tweets that are highlighted through these what's happening trending section tabs, because they've skewed the whole system, right? But look at what President Trump says. It says, go to your polling place to see whether or not mail-in votes, your mail-in vote has been tabulated. If it has, you will not be able to vote and the mail-in system work properly. If it has not been counted, vote, which is a citizen's right to do if your mail-in ballot arrives. And President Trump goes on, but you can't read the rest because you have to click back to go forward. It says, if it has not, after you vote, which it should not, that ballot will not be used or counted in that your vote has already been cast and tabulated. You are now assured that your precious vote has been counted. It hasn't been lost, thrown out, or in any way destroyed. God bless America. So President Trump just took the gloves off against these criminals who are trying to steal this election, right? Because what he's saying is vote if you want to vote with this mail-in ballot, but then go verify that your vote was counted and not thrown into a dumpster by some SJW communist Marxist postman or some corrupt official at the voting polling station who, has secret rooms like they did in Broward, where they were basically filling out ballots by the dozens or hundreds and putting them into the ballot box and stuffing it. And if you can't get 100% verification that your mail-in vote was counted, that the one that you sent in early, then vote again. Because if they're not going to count your vote, if they're going to throw it in the dumpster, if they're not going to give you confirmation that your vote was received and counted, then you legally and lawfully have the right to vote. So what he's saying is this is exactly what the Democrats are going to do, which is why Twitter is censoring this tweet. Because the whole Democrat plan is we're going to mail out a million bajillion ballots, and we're going to wait for them all to come in, and then those same people who sent in their ballots are going to go vote in person again, so we're going to double our vote tally, and that's the only way they can win. Because they're criminals, because of the information that we're going to uncover here in this episode, I think. But this is what I had to start with, right? So President Trump has been attacked all day today with these crazy stories, right? And they're all about the military, which is very interesting because the information that I have that about what's coming is very much related to the military and the military industrial complex and the Bush era failures in 9/11 and what happened in the failure to capture or kill Osama bin Laden. Yeah. And then it's going to get way worse after that because I know there's more information coming out after what I'm going to tell you here today. But I can't talk about that yet because it hasn't been like verified or even put out yet. So this is what's going to happen though. So they come out here and they're saying President Trump said all these awful things about people at a cemetery. Okay. And it wasn't even an American cemetery. It was a French one. And it was about that time where he said he couldn't go to the cemetery because there was bad weather. And anyway, it's just complete fabrication and complete lies. So this guy came out from the Atlantic and wrote an article citing 4 anonymous sources, basically, or sources that are basically untrustworthy and or not credible, saying that President Trump said these awful things about people, you know, who were in the cemetery who had died. Not true. Complete false fabrication. Okay. We basically debunked that. All the Twitter people, everyone was like, why are you recycling the story? And I was like thinking to myself tonight, why are they recycling the story? And then I thought about information that I have that about things that are coming in the next few days and or a week or two, maybe at most, that's going to just be game changer. And then I saw this story and it made sense. You have this story, I mean, that's coming out right now from General James Mattis, right? His former advisor and defense secretary. It was a part of the military industrial complex 100%. Saying, quote, Donald Trump is the first president in my lifetime who does not try to unite the American people, does not even pretend to try. And it's basically this whole ripping President Trump. And I'm thinking to myself, why are these military guys trying to get the veterans to hate President Trump? Why are they lying to the American people? Is it because they were involved in very shady things? Is it because they turned a blind eye while our country was robbed by these globalist criminals? Was it because they allowed things to happen that if the people found out they did, they'd probably be in at minimum Gitmo for the rest of their lives? Maybe. I don't know. But I'm just saying, you know, when you start putting all the facts together, it starts to look really bad. As we look at this story here about this story came back out back in May 2nd of 2020. And this talks exactly about the IIA stuff that PFC Berge and Millie Weaver and all them exposed in that Shadow Net documentary, talking about the initiative that was headed by this former General Stanley McChrystal to go against President Trump using these IIA weapons, right, to target not only President Trump, but his followers and to help promote Joe Biden, because they're trying to cover up one of the biggest crimes of the century, right? And they're doing it because I believe that they have skeletons in the closet that they don't want getting out there. And that's, you know, it is what it is. We'll see what the information comes out. And it's going to come out. Trust me, I'm not the one putting all this information together necessarily. This is being done by people that are way beyond me, right? And that is what it is, right? But the story came out back in May. It was reported on here by the Stars and Stripes, which is a U.S. Newspaper that's put out to the military, right? And so this story talks about how, you know, New Democratic, and we talked about this when it came out, Aligned Political Action Committee advised by retired Army General Stanley McChrystal, the former head of U.S. forces in Afghanistan, which is really important, remember that, is planning to deploy technology originally developed to counter Islamic State propaganda in service of a domestic political goal to combat online efforts to promote President Donald Trump's handling of the coronavirus pandemic. The group Defeat Disinfo will use artificial intelligence and network analysis, aka the IIAs and ShadowNet and ClearForce and the rest that were exposed in that Millie Weaver documentary. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, just Google those terms and you'll figure it out quick. But it will seek to intervene by identifying the most popular counter-narratives and boosting them through a network of more than 3.4 million influencers. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. It goes well beyond that. And the way you know that Stars and Stripes, when they broke this story, were talking about exactly what Berge and Millie Weaver and the rest were talking about, even though Tory we're not sure about. Says people have told me that Tory's not trustworthy. The simple fact that these stories tell exactly what's happening today. They predicted it exactly, right? You have violence in the streets. It's all part of a destabilization effort. You have them they did the demoralization, right, over the last 10 years, and now they're using the people they've demoralized and brainwashed and trained to become violent, raging sociopath criminals. They're using them to create this distraction. What's the distraction for? The distraction is not just for the election. It's for the information that President Trump's going to release before the election. That's going to change everything, and it's going to expose them for what they did. So, before we get into that, I just have to keep talking about this stuff, right? Because we got to go through all of these and see it. Washington Post saying the election will end in violence unless Biden wins in a landslide. So, IIA and the whole idea of that documentary that was put out by them, Berge, Millie Weaver, and the rest, was that they are setting up society to crumble. Like I said, they'll destroy this country before they allow themselves to get caught. And this is just another example of the Washington Post saying the election will end in violence. Well, why is the Washington Post setting that precedent? Why are they writing this article? It's not analysis. It's not opinion. It is clearly meant to start normalizing the idea that if President Trump wins, then there will be more violence. So who is in control of the violence? Obviously, the opposition to President Trump, which is the Democrats and the deep state, and the rhino Republicans who want to cover their end because they know what they were doing was criminal. And they know what they were doing, once exposed to the American people, is going to make the American people absolutely despise them and detest them. So, I mean, I'm just reading the cards here. I'm not telling you what to think or what to do. Do the research for yourself. But you have President Trump here actually going after these big cities because it's all a coordinated effort, right? So President Trump's trying to take strong action against them, and it shows that they're very weak. But Attorney General Barr is being attacked again by the Washington Post because he's telling the truth about what's happening in this false mail-in ballot harvesting criminal attempt to steal the election, right? Goes on CNN and tells Wolf Blitzer, hey, look, you guys were just saying 10 years ago or 8 years ago or 5 years ago, or even less at times, that mail-in voting is fraudulent, and that it's going to be a free-for-all if we let mail-in voting happen. But now you're all for it? What changed? Oh, President Trump became president. That's right. As you see here, even you have these little tyrants like Cuomo in New York making threats against the president. What kind of weak, ineffective, sick, pathetic loser do you have to be who's got a creepy brother who apparently likes to do weird things to women that make them uncomfortable? What kind of person do you have to be? These are like all tied. I think these guys are all like tied to mob stuff, and that's just my opinion. But saying you better have an army if he comes to New York, and saying he can't get enough or can't have enough bodyguards, and he says it with the suggestion being that New Yorkers don't want to have anything to do with President Trump, as if his lawless city, like he's like Bane out of Dark Knight Rises, and he's like, it will not come into my city, it will cause chaos. And I'm sorry, a terrible Bane impression, but still, that's what these people remind me of. They're crazy. They've lost their minds, and they've been told by their handlers to do this on purpose. And you know they're really panicking because President Trump's authorized, I heard the Attorney General Barr, I guess, has authorized the DOJ to file an antitrust suit against Google in the next coming weeks. And again, this is all tied to the big thing I'm going to drop here at the end of the episode, right, about this major news that's coming. Because what's coming is information that once released and once put out broadly in the public, these big tech companies are going to actively suppress because they're just offshoots of the IIA. They're controlled by these deep state generals who took this technology that was used to combat, the Taliban in Afghanistan and ISIS, and they've stolen the technology, stolen the patents, stolen the IP, and they put it into private companies and foreign countries, and they're using it against us right now. They're literally using it against us as we speak. And the big tech giants, the tech tyrants, are going to help them cover up what information is coming. So I finally pieced all the puzzle together, right? And it's going to be big, right? So just follow me here for a second. This is the story. They're talking about this New York Times report talking about the Department of Justice planning to file an antitrust suit. Of course, the New York Times and the Washington Post, when they put these stories out, I think a lot of the time it's not meant to get it out ahead of what's going to happen. They have sources that are stealing information, and they have plants inside of all the DOJ and everything who are feeding them these stories so that they can warn the big tech guys and the IIA people and ClearForce people and ShadowNet people to here, this is what's coming, right? So they can start formulating strategies on how to block the bigger information that's coming out ahead or coming out soon. So this is very crazy. And then here you go, Daily Caller talking about more than a dozen researchers and professors at U.S. universities have been arrested for ties to Chinese government. So this is also, in my opinion, a major story, but it's really kind of secondary to what we're going to talk about here today on the channel, right? And also, I just got to mention this story where, you have the Republicans calling on AG Barr to determine whether Pelosi broke federal law when she ripped up Trump's SOTU speech. I think even this is just another example of the way they divert our attention. The way they go, oh man, Nancy Pelosi ripped up some papers, but don't pay attention to the thing that's going to come out in the next few days, maybe week, that's going to just change the whole world and change your worldview. And then even after that, we have a bigger one coming out. Or I've heard a bigger thing is going to come out. Yeah, don't pay attention to that. So, yeah, I just want to talk about that now. To the big story, right? The one you guys probably been like, whoa, what are you talking about, man? Tell me what's up. All right, well, here it is. This is it. Finding the terrorists. There's a interesting film trailer here on YouTube called Feathered Cocaine. Now, it's about falcons. It's about terrorists, and it's about the reluctance of high-ranking officials to follow information that could have led them directly to the boogeymen who they blamed for all of our problems for the last 2 decades before Trump, right? And if you guys know who I'm talking about bin Laden. I'm talking about the fact that we always knew how to get to him. We had people that were working with him, and they chose to ignore it. Why? Well, I don't know. You'll have to ask them that. It seemed to me that, if you wanted to start an endless war and enrich yourself beyond your wildest dreams and, steal billions, if not trillions of dollars of taxpayer money into your private corporations, your military industrial complex, perhaps you would ignore what was happening. I'm going to play this clip real quick, and then we'll talk about it.
Here's a guy who bumps into Osama bin Laden. I met him 5 or 6 times.
Our country is still the target of terrorists who want to kill many.
But nobody in U.S. intelligence ever wants to meet the one individual who apparently is able to walk in and sit down with Osama bin Laden at will. That's astonishing.
So it's a documentary called Feathered Cocaine. No one in U.S. intelligence wanted to sit down with the one man who they knew could go and sit down directly with Osama bin Laden. Wonder what that tells you. I think it tells you a lot. This was a film, by the way, that was premiered at a film festival, Tribeca Film Festival in 2010, and then disappeared off the face of the earth, never to be seen again, besides this trailer. And a few write-ups, a few articles. Guess what? It's going to come out. And then, I don't know, there might be even more coming out after it. And that might be why they are panicking. And that might be why they're trying to turn President Trump into this anti-veteran, anti-military president with these fake news articles. Right? Because they're trying to get ahead of the story. You can ask me how I know it. but I'm not going to tell you. So, yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out for that. That's going to be major. That's the big, big story, and you guys will see in the next few days what happens. And, of course, I could always be wrong, but usually my sources are very correct. So, with that in mind, I want to remind you all, thank you for watching. Remember to come here, watch these videos, share them on your social media, leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. Tell me what you think about what I said. If you think I'm just completely out there crazy, or if you think I'm on over the target. You'll really know if in the next few days something major happens with all of this. But hey, I'm just putting it out there. Just thinking out loud here. This is everything we've talked about is public information and publicly available. So you guys do with that what you may. But that's where we're going to go ahead and leave it. A few more things before we go. Come here. Make sure you do all that, share and leave your thoughts and everything. Also, you can find me over here on Twitter at JustInform You. Also at informed_news. Plus, I'm on Parlor at JustInformedTalk. And the backup channel is BitChute.com/JustInformedTalk. Plus, you can find me over here at JustInformedNews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk. And if you guys always are curious, where are the links to the Q stuff? They're right here. I have all the stuff right here. Links to the Q stuff, news sites, breaking news that's always updated every day, pretty much all day, every day. And also you have links to the videos here. So it's a cool site and it's a good tool for you guys. Also, if you're going to be in Miami, or you want to be in Miami, and check out the American Priority Conference and come meet me and a bunch of other incredible patriots who love this country, I suggest that you go get your tickets today. Use the link in the description to sign up and use the discount code Just Informed News to get $45 off your tickets. But just a warning, this is a Trump National in Doral, which is an amazing resort, but they've already sold out a bunch of rooms. So if you want to get involved with this conference, where you're going to see probably some big name speakers again, Donald Trump Jr. was the headliner last year, I'd suggest getting all your travel arrangements done and get ready for it now. But that's pretty much it. A few other things. Make sure if you want to help contribute and keep this channel alive, since YouTube's demonetized it and tried to put it out of business, and you feel so inclined to, you can come here and make a monthly donation on Patreon, which I'll leave a link to. And I have a GoFundMe set up if you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation. Links to everything will be in the description below. Now, before we go, we do a segment called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it's truly greater. And this is a verse that stood out to me as I was reading it to share with you guys, out of 2 Corinthians, talking about living letters, and I just thought it was such a profound message, but I want to share it with you. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 1 through 3. Are we beginning to commend ourselves again, or like some, do we need letters of recommendation to you or from you? You yourselves are our letter, written on our hearts, recognized and read by everyone. Since it is plain that you are Christ's letter, produced by us, not written with ink, but with Spirit of the living God, not on stone tablets, but on tablets that are hearts of flesh. And let me just kind of break down what it's saying here. If you're not following it, it's saying, do you need to be told, over and over again that you're doing the right thing? Do you need to commend yourselves through letters or, messages? Now, of course, I'm not talking about reading the Bible and sharing the gospel, because that's not what I mean here. But I think what it's saying is that we know when we do the right thing. We know, and we can show that to others because it's written on the flesh of our hearts, right? When we go out and we live a Christ-like life, when we go out and we preach the gospel, when we go out and share the word, when we go out and do the right thing when no one's watching, when we go out and we repent and ask for forgiveness for our sins, and we go out and we help others, seek God's incredible glory through baptism and prayer and just worship. This is what we have to remind ourselves every day, right? No matter what this evil world tells us, they say, oh, you're evil because you messed up once and you did this. You're not. But you have to do everything you can to live a righteous life. You have to do everything you can to pray to God. You have to do everything you can to remind yourself, without being told by others, that you are doing God's will. You are living righteously, and that comes from sound devotion to the Lord, studying the scripture, being involved with your church, being involved with your community through outreach and sharing the gospel. Those are ways that you're doing the right thing. And my message to you is to trust that in your heart you know you're doing God's will, because you're following God and you're putting Jesus in your heart every day, and you're listening and letting the Holy Spirit guide you. So that's my message to all of you. Thank you for watching. Remember, come here, click the big red subscribe button, then hit that bell. Also, hit it, punch it, tap it, elbow it, smack it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's it from me, though. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.